Hello, and welcome to the Diaries of Ordinary People, the podcast that shares raw, unfiltered, and honest stories from everyday lives. I'm your host, Ash. Each episode, we dive into the personal diaries and journals to reveal the heartfelt experiences and challenges that connect us all. So whether you're on your commute, taking a break, or just winding down, join us as we explore the real and unvarnished lives of people. This is the Diaries of Ordinary People. What do you think your most important memory is?
Most important? That's actually a toughie. I've got like a couple for different reasons. I think the moment that I held my son when he was born is something that I will keep forever. That's something that that was a really intense moment in my life. There were complications. They weren't like severe complications, but there were complications. So I was the first one to hold him. And I had spent the previous 8-ish months dreading it. I was 23. I was 24 when he was born, but he was born not long after my birthday, so I was 23 when I found out. I was earning £2.60 something an hour on an apprenticeship wage before they became semi-decent. I was struggling to make the day-to-day work for me and my partner. Like, pennies mattered.
Yeah, let alone bringing a child into it.
And yeah, that was it. My opinion was, I don't know how, like, we are struggling. Like, I don't want that for a child. I don't want that for my child, but I don't want that for a child at all. But hell, we're doing that. Okay. And so I spent the next 8 months just worrying about how things were going to work and kind of resenting the situation that I was in, because I'd got myself into it and I wasn't about to like jump ship and be like, cool, see you later. That's just not who I am. Like, I've made my bed, I'll sleep in it. So I was committed to trying to make something work that in my mind had no available options to work. It just wasn't a feasible thing to do. So I spent the longest 8 months of my life scared and no, just scared. Just really, really scared. I just didn't know what to do at all. And then we went to the hospital to her waters broke. We went to the hospital. They were semi-helpful. I wasn't able to stay at the hospital overnight. But they wanted to keep her. And much like now, I've improved, but much like now, I had difficulty waking up. So I have parasomnia, which is the opposite of insomnia. Insomniacs can't fall asleep. Parasomniacs can't wake up.
Nice.
And it's a condition that's really difficult to pinpoint and say that's what that is, but I exhibit those symptoms.
Okay.
So I was concerned that I would go home and I would sleep through the phone call. So I didn't sleep. So I would leave the hospital at 7, 8 o'clock at night walk home. It's about an hour. I'm tired. It's about an hour. And I'd play video games. I'd try and keep my brain going.
Active, yeah.
Thinking about how to do things. I'd play strategy games. I'd play all sorts of bits and pieces just to try and keep my mind going and off the worry. Because that was it. I was worried that, like, I was going to put my key in the door and the phone was going to go. It didn't happen. I was worried I was going to sit down and the phone was going to go. It didn't happen. And I was worried I was going to fall asleep, which didn't happen, but I was worried it was going to happen and the phone was going to go and I was going to sleep straight through it. So I would go back to the hospital at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Would you be there kind of all day?
Yeah. But, so it wasn't the greatest situation. I think it was 2 or 3 days. I don't remember because it was all kind of like in one go. There were no sleep breaks that were intentional. I fell asleep at the hospital because worst case scenario, and what actually happened is this. So when they were like, oh, we're like, baby is coming, I was asleep in the room with, like, in the maternity waiting room thing. With, like, so she's in a bed and I'm in an armchair and I am done. I woke up, a nurse shinned me. She fucking straight up kicked me in the shin. So I woke up and I was like, oh, what's happening? Why does my leg hurt? Who are these people? Why is that light so bright? I was so confused. It took me like minutes to piece together where I was and why. During which time I was told to follow the nurse that had kicked me. Well, yeah, okay, you're in charge, apparently. She took me to a changing room, opened the door, told me to go in, and it was like a locker room, and there were scrubs on a bench. And I'm like, this woman has mistaken me for someone with medical training. Oh no. Why?
Yeah.
Why the guy that was asleep? What do you do?
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea what's happening. And she's like, get changed into those and come into theatre. And I dead ass stood there for 5 minutes straight, just going, I don't know what to do. I have been given instructions, but inherently those instructions are wrong.
Yeah.
That's not a position, that's not a role that I can fill. What do you want from me? Like, no. So she comes back and she's like, why aren't you changed? I'm like, I'm not medically trained, what do you... And she was like, no, you need to get changed to come in. You don't have to do anything. Yeah. And I was like, would have been handy if you'd said that 5 minutes ago. So I get changed and I'm like, I don't know where I'm going from here. So I open up the door and I'm like looking around. She sees me and directs me. And I go in and I sit down next to this operating bed table thing. And there's a curtain over and around the table. So all I can see is my partner's face.
Okay. Nice.
Which is good because I don't know how I would have responded so it was a C-section. Don't know how I would have responded with that whole scenario. So I'm glad I couldn't see any of it. But because that was happening, she was in no condition to hold the baby. There would have been anaesthetic in place and etc. So I've had my freak out now. And I'm kind of recovering.
You've calmed down.
No, not really. Okay. I'm still very much like, I don't want to be here. Like, I was in and out of hospital for an exceptionally large portion of my childhood.
Yeah.
That hospital, in fact. Okay. So I have some good memories, but I also have some, like, I've been in here and in a lot of pain memories. So I just don't like being there. Even now, I don't like going up there. And then a baby appears like a doctor or a nurse or someone brings this baby to me and they're like, do you want to hold it? Do you want to hold him? And I'm like,
was it told? Were you told at that point?
Well, I was told beforehand,
okay,
but they were like, do you want to hold him? And I was like, yes.
I'm not sure what I would say.
The answer is yes, but I'm not sure. Like, I don't want to drop him. So, and they give him to me and they put him in my arms, and he is absolutely tiny.
Yeah.
And he's like kind of practically asleep. Like his eyes look closed. And I'm like, oh, I've broken him already. Oh no. And he's got like one hand outside of the cloth that he's wrapped in. Yeah, so he's got like one hand down to like the elbow outside of the cloth that he's wrapped in, and like across his chest. And his head just kind of tilted a little bit like back, so he's like looking more up at me. Yeah. And his hand came away from his body and he flipped me off.
Really?
Straight up. Middle finger. And I was like, this is my boy. That's no questions asked. This is my son.
Okay.
And everything just kind of flipped from, like, I wasn't worried anymore.
Yeah.
Everything would be okay. I would make everything okay.
But like parental bond, like
like just immediately.
Okay.
And then they were like, okay, so we need to take him and do checks stuff. And or whatever. I wasn't paying attention to what they were saying, other than the fact they were taking him from me. And the other thing is that he, obviously it's not intentional. He's just been born. But he waited until the nurse took him from me to pee. So he didn't pee on me, but he peed on the nurse. And I was like, yep, that's my kid. And that whole little sequence from being kicked in the shin to going, he peed on the nurse. Like that little like 7 or 8 minutes. It might have been much longer than that, I don't know. But like in my mind,
your mind
it's a very short period of time. But I see that whole thing very vividly, like like I'm watching it happen in a film.
Oh, okay.
And I can just press play on it and just watch the whole thing through, and it makes me smile.
Nice.
And I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What's your first memory?
I think it's definitely like primary school. No, it's not before primary school.
Okay.
My mother, pre-primary school, potentially pre-nursery, so somewhere between the age of 3 and 5 maybe. Whenever we were in the car, we would do the times tables. And I wasn't allowed to just go, right, so we're doing the 7s. I wasn't allowed to go 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56. I had to go, 1 times 7 is 7. 2 times 7 is 14. But I know my times tables. I knew my times tables all the way through 12 before I started school. It infuriated my teachers. Because they'd be like, what's 3 times 3? And I'd be like, can I have a hard one?
Yeah, okay.
What's 7 times 8? 56. Why does this year 1 child know that so quickly? What about 11 times 12? 132. Next, I was very confident in myself with those because of that experience with my mother in the car. Every time we were in the car, we did our times table. or multiple, depending on the journey. And my earliest memory is that, I think. Which is annoying. Because I didn't enjoy that. And I mean, a little later on, when I was like, yeah, I know all these, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
You're the teacher, but I know all the answers. I enjoyed that. But I didn't enjoy in the moment. 1 times 9 is 9. 2 times 9 is 18. All the way through to 12 times 9. And we would do all of them. So I think we ended up at like the 14 times tables. They don't even teach you beyond 12 in school. Why we did 13 and 14, I ain't got a clue. But we did. So I just knew more than they were going to teach me.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of the reason why I struggled so much in school. Because I was bored. They weren't teaching me new things. Like, there were other things that my parents taught me before I started school that also would have been taught in school, and I was like, I already know this. And I was very, very confident in, I already know this. And they'd go, okay, well, you need to tell me. And I'd be like, no, I don't need to prove it to you. I know it. Which is not how you progress in a learning environment. It wasn't until year 3, so I'd have been 7 or 8.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
You go into secondary school...
12 or 11, I think.
11, 12.
Yeah, depending where your birthday is.
Yeah.
So,
the teacher I had in my 3rd year recognised what was happening. He was like, why won't you tell me? I was like, why won't you do the work? And I was like, because it's boring. Like, you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. You're not going to like it, but that's the truth. It's boring. And he was like, okay, well, prove it. And he did something that no other teacher I had, and I was really lucky. I actually had him for half of my 5th year as well. He did something no other teacher I had in primary school did. He challenged me. He was like, well, I don't believe you. Prove it. And I was like, well, now I feel like I've got something to prove.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. Let's do that. And he gave me, he ended up giving me a year 6 SAT test in maths. Because I was like, there was nothing that he could ask me that I was doing long division in my head, everything. And it was like, okay, that's weird. Have this test that's for people 3 years older than you. And I passed it at like 96%. 3 years later, the same SAT tests, I scraped by at like 55%, 60%. I did the bare minimum to pass. Because I'd been told what pass mark was when I did it 3 years prior. He was like, you only need to score this, and you've scored that. That's really impressive. And I was like, yeah, I'm the best. Fuck you. I wasn't swearing at that point, but like, that's the attitude
Mentally,
I had.
You were there.
That's the attitude I had.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, fuck you, I'm the best. And I remembered that 3 years later when I went to actually do the test. I was like, I think I only actually answered 65% of the questions.
Oh, okay.
And I passed. Like, the questions I answered, I got correct. The ones I didn't answer, obviously I didn't get correct, but I'd passed. So I didn't need to answer those. So.
You said when we were talking about your first memory that you spent a lot of time, or not a lot of time, but you spent some time distracting yourself playing video games and such.
Yeah.
Is that like a passion or a hobby you've had for a while, or?
Yeah, okay. I'm really big on I guess efficiency.
Okay.
Like I like to do things the best way possible. I like in my adult life, in my job, with my whatever. I like to work smart, not hard. I'm very big on work smart, not hard. I'm not lazy. I just don't want to do a job that you think should take 2 hours in 2 hours, because I know I can do it in 10 minutes if I do it this way instead. So I do a lot of problem solving games, I do a lot of puzzle games, I do a lot of strategy games. When I was a kid, it was Final Fantasy and the Command and Conquer series. Final Fantasy's turn-based combat, save the world, feel good about yourself. But there's gimmicks that you can use that aren't necessarily like super obvious. So, for example, in Final Fantasy VII, there's a gimmick called Lucky Sevens, where if your health bar hits all sevens, so 7,777 or 777 or 77, like any 777, the game just takes over and you do 7,777 damage regardless of the attack, and that character just goes berserk. They just attack. The opponent doesn't get a word in, and it's basically an insta-win. Like, there are some scenarios where actually it's not, because it does have like a time limit on it.
So like a mushroom, no, like a star in Mario Kart.
Yeah, like a star in Mario. But yeah, there's there's no documentation for that, and there's nothing alluding to it that I'm aware of within the game or in the manual or anything. It's just a thing that you may or may not find, and if you do, you're going to be like, oh my god, how did I do that?
Yeah.
How do I make that happen again?
I get
So yeah, it's little bits and pieces. I'm really big on strategy stuff. Even now, I play lots of strategy stuff. I play Pokemon games. I've played Pokemon games since Red and Blue came out in '96. It's now 2024.
no judgment here.
28 years of Pokemon. I didn't really understand what I was doing back then so much as... I mean, I understood, like, the basics, like, type advantages and things, but I didn't really know anything about, like, the deeper stuff, so, like, IVs, EVs, all that jazz. So just worked with what I had. Command & Conquer, I played a lot of. I got really good at Command & Conquer. I played online eventually in some semi-decently large tournaments and walked away victorious, like top spot for a couple of them. I was like 13, 14. So obviously I had something going for me on that. It was a lot of fun. It's war simulation, essentially. Set up a home base, barracks, vehicle factories, airfields, defend yourself, obliterate them. I got very good at it. And it all feeds back into like strategy and problem solving.
How do you think your strategy and problem solving skills have helped you over the past, well, I don't know, since you were 25 or?
Well, I mean, I use problem solving on a day-to-day basis for work.
Okay.
And that's not even necessarily the work itself. I have to manage expectations from customers as well as colleagues as well as managers. I do new entrant training, which has an element of strategy to it in the way that, you know, there's no point in teaching them X, Y, and Z before A, B, and C, because they won't know what X, Y, and Z is, because A, B, and C is the basics, and X, Y, Z is advanced technical bits. So there's a bit of a linear A, B, C, D, but the way that you engage people in training is just as important as the training itself. So there's an element of strategy and problem. So some people learn differently. Some people learn better from doing. Some people learn better from reading how to do it. Some people learn better when you just talk at them. So that's on the fly problem solving. These people are doing really well, but actually these three are struggling a bit. Maybe I need to change the way I'm doing things before I start wondering whether or not they're actively engaging. Is there something I could do better? So I use problem solving a lot. Strategy I don't necessarily think really comes into like my adulting.
Good word.
Coined that. That's mine. But I mean, like I said, I still play a lot of games, so I do, and I play games competitively where possible. So I play a large variety of online games that involve me essentially beating up someone else successfully. Whether that's Command and Conquer, I build a base, they build a base, I have to blow up their base and win, or League of Legends, which I'm never really going to admit I play. It's just not a lot of games are really good ideas, but the communities make them less so.
Okay.
Some people get really, really irate when they are not doing well, which I understand. I don't like failing at things either, but there's ways to fix that, like getting better, acknowledging where you're making mistakes and correcting those things, or working on those things. You know, is my decision making too slow? Is my decision making too bold? Am I chasing the wrong objectives? Little bits and pieces, but yeah, online communities tend to get heated when they are not doing well, and it just kind of takes the fun out of it sometimes. And League of Legends is really good for that. The community is toxic.
Nice.
Yeah.
You made a really interesting point there about if you're kind of like, if something goes wrong, like stepping back and assessing your own decision making, if it's too fast or too slow or too bold.
Yeah.
In that vein,
Yeah.
how would you say the kind of like, how would you say your decision making has impacted like your past 12 months or your past year?
I think my decision-making process has changed, well, shortly before that time period. So around about the 18-month mark.
Okay, yeah.
I made some actively tactical decisions about the way that I think, and the things that I prioritise, and potentially how I can change that order of priority to benefit me better. My own happiness has not been high on that priority list in comparison to the happiness of people around me, work. My health has also not really been big on my priority list as a whole.
What has been high on your priority list?
Pre that
Yeah.
conversation with myself, Other people,
Okay.
as a kid and a young adult, I found it very difficult to mesh well with society, shall we say. I've always, social cues are difficult for me, or have been. Then I think I'm improving on that, or have improved on that. Still improving on that. Sure. I think that instead of working on that, I decided that the best way to fit in with the people around me was to make sure that they were happy and they were okay and their needs were met, which meant that my own happiness and my own needs took kind of like a sideline to that. And I was okay with that at the time. I thought I was. But like I said, my health wasn't a priority, and that's kind of an issue. My own happiness not being a priority was obviously an issue. You just kind of coast from day to day. I ended up... There was a point, and it was a rather large point. It was about 1.5 years of my life, where I was, I would say clinically depressed, except that required leaving the house to go and see someone to tell me I was depressed. Okay. And leaving the house was not something I would do of my own volition. So I struggled on in silence and darkness. I didn't open the curtains, I didn't go outside, I didn't open the windows. I just kind of... There was no sleep schedule. Like, there was... My life was erratic, but it was contained in my home.
Within your four walls?
For the most part. I think I left the house maybe twice a fortnight. Once if I could do everything in one go. But sometimes I'd be like, I didn't buy toilet roll. I've got to go out again. So, I struggled a lot with that. And towards the end of that, I was really struggling. Like, I wasn't doing well at all. I woke up one morning, and it's really stupid because like I find it really difficult. I'm a very logic based creature, I think, and what I was doing and the problems that I was facing, logically that was a cause and effect. Right, the problems that I was facing were being caused by the way I was acting and the things I was doing. I genuinely, and obviously this isn't going to work for anyone or everyone, probably not most people, but genuinely I woke up one morning, I know it was morning because the sun was coming up. Like, I woke up roughly daybreak, and it was April, I think. And I sat up in bed instead of just rolling out of bed and going and turning on whatever game I was playing at the time. I sat up in bed and I looked out the window and I watched the sun come up. And I just thought to myself, if I keep going the way I'm going, I'm not going to see that anymore. I'm not gonna make it much further, I don't think. And somewhere inside I went, that's not acceptable. One thing that I pretty much everything, all of the little revelations and epiphanies that I've ever had somehow relate to something I've learned from playing video games. So in a player versus player scenario in any game, They're trying to kill you, you're trying to kill them. You can't kill them if you're dead. It's like the base rule. There are definitely people out there that don't get that. But people that are good at player versus player scenarios know I can't get them, I can't win if they win first. And somewhere inside I went, I need to survive. Or I'm not going to see many more days. And I'd like to see more days. So I got up, showered, got dressed, and went outside. I made myself get up and go outside. I did everything I needed to do to be a functional human being. Got up, went outside, and I walked. I walked along the seafront slowly. I'm naturally a fast walker. I walk like I've got rockets attached to my shoes. I walked slowly along the seafront as the sun was kind of starting to come up. It was getting brighter, it was getting warmer, and I felt that. And I was like, I can do this. That's fine. And I went and I walked, and then I'd be like, oh, I know someone that lives in this area. And it wasn't until 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. So I'd been walking for maybe 4 hours. And I was like, oh, I know someone that lives in this area. I haven't seen them in some time. I wonder if they still live there. I just went and knocked on the door. And when they answered, and they did in fact still live there, I said hi, and I spoke to them for a little bit. Couple of those people invited me in for a chat and a cup of tea, which I did because that's the good thing to do. That's a healthy interaction to have.
Yeah.
I made myself do that. And I caught up with some people, and then I'd leave, and I'd go for more. I'd walk more, and I don't think I got home until dead hours of the night. The last place that I stopped was childhood friend's parents' house. I know he was there, weirdly, and I was there until I think 11 o'clock. And I just kind of fell out of that funk that I'd been in for the last year and a half. In the space of 24 hours. Which, again, is not something that I think works for most people. But I did quite literally wake up one day and go, no, that's enough. Which I think is pretty powerful, actually. I was in a really bad place, and I was like, no, I can't do that anymore. I need to not. And then I didn't.
It must be a lot of willpower,
or I think it
psychological beliefs to get there. Surely.
I think I have a very strong survival instinct.
Okay.
And as soon as I recognised that I was heading down
the not survival
route,
yeah,
somewhere in my brain something clicked and went, oh, we have to correct that. How do I do that? And I problem solved it. I didn't even think about it. I did it. Yeah. I just got up, showered, got dressed, and went outside. I went and touched grass.
Yeah,
it works, I guess.
Nature has its ways.
It works, I guess. I feel like I went on a tangent there, though.
That's okay.
What was the original question?
What have the past 12 months been like for you? Have they gone to plan?
Right, yeah, decision making, that's how we got on the tangent. Okay. The last 12 months, yeah, they have gone to plan, I think. I've made decisions to kind of just do what I want to do and let the fallout happen if there is any. And interestingly enough, there hasn't been. So, I mean, I was always quite reserved with those kind of decisions. Like, I like that girl. The worst she can say is no is a lie that we tell ourselves. Believe me, I go to the really not good places when considering the worst outcomes on things. And once I've got there, I talked to myself. I went and did my CBT bike test. I did the off-road bit around the car park. Loved that, brilliant. Went to go and do the on-road portion that gets me signed off, gets me my CBT for 2 years. And I hadn't slept the night before because I was worried about oversleeping and not getting there on time. So I said to the instructor, look, I'm not comfortable with that. There are other people on the road that I have to take into account. And I myself am not necessarily as aware as I could be of my surroundings. Can I come back in a month and do this again, but obviously do this little bit that we've done over the last couple of hours, just do like a quick refresher and then straight out onto the road, Bob's your uncle, done, and then sign me off. And he was perfectly fine with that, and I fell in love with the bike that I was on. I wanted to buy it, so I was like in on this. I spent the next month thinking of all the things that could go wrong when I rode a motorcycle, talked myself out of it, didn't go back.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, if I get into an accident, there's at least in a car, there's a metal cage around you to sort of protect you. On a motorbike, you've got whatever you're wearing.
Yeah, you got a leather jacket.
A leather jacket and a helmet.
Yeah, ideally.
And like leggings and boots, maybe.
Yeah.
But
it's not.
The longer you've been riding, are you going to continue to do that? Like, I cycle, I don't wear a helmet because I'm not going 60 miles an hour on a motorway. That's how that works in my head. That's fine. I'm just on a normal road and I'm going like 15, maybe. But get up to 30 on something with an engine, and suddenly I'm like, no, I can't do that. I talk myself out of it. So I like that girl. Talk myself out of it. Like, I'm not going to approach her. That's not happening. In the last 12 months, it's been, she says no, that's fine. I haven't lost anything. In fact, she has. She's lost someone that's interested in her. And I have lost someone that's not interested in me. That's not a loss. And that change in like the decision process, I'm now really happy with my partner, who I met, started talking to and engaging with roughly a year ago. So I would say, yeah, everything's going better than planned.
Good.
I'm succeeding.
Good.
So that's good. Yeah.
What's your plan for the next 12? Do you see any changes?
I'd like to keep going on the upward trend that I've been on. I've had a setback or two with getting on the property ladder and promotion at my employment, but that's all they are. They're setbacks. They're not the end of the world. They're things that I can reassess, address, and attempt again. So yeah, I'd like to stay on that positive upward trend. I don't have any concrete plans because I think that the first thing that goes wrong when you make a plan is that you've made a plan. So I firmly believe, and from personal experience can say that there is an element of correctness to this. Step 1, make a plan.
Yeah.
Step 2, realise that something has changed outside of the plan that affects the plan. Step 3, throw the plan in the bin. Step 4, make a new plan. Step 4, you're back at 1.
Yeah, it's like a little circle.
I believe that when you make a concrete plan, you are setting yourself up to fail. Because if you stick to the plan rigidly, and something outside of those parameters changes that affects the way that the plan operates, then you are going to fail because the plan hasn't adapted. However, if you follow the plan loosely and you make adaptations to fit the surroundings and the way things are going around you, why did you make the plan in the first place? Because the plan that you start with and the plan, quotations, that you end with will not look the same at all. There will be similarities.
Yeah.
You will have started at A and you will have got to Z, maybe. Or some variation of Z. But you will not have gone A, B, C, D, E, F all the way through. You will have gone A, B. Oh, C isn't
Quite there yet.
That's...
Yeah.
Where's C? Oh, D!
Yeah.
G?
We'll jump around.
C? What? It just doesn't... I don't think they work, personally. I think that the plans are great for building something. I have the plans to build a house. I have the materials required for the plan. The plan is correct. I think that plans for something as fluid as life, not so much. I just want to continue to improve. That's it. That's my plan, in quotations. Improve.
I feel like you could substitute the word planned for goals. I think quite a lot of what you said, for me anyway, I agree with you.
Yeah.
In the same vein as goals being the plan.
Yeah.
In quotations, and then I can really see how, from what you were saying, I relate to how you describe a plan. I would describe the same thing as being a goal.
Yeah. Okay. I've taken you very literally.
Okay.
Which is because they are separate things.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah. They're separate to me.
Yeah.
I think I can just see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is how I feel about goals. I don't think they should be set.
Yeah. Goals are like, I got to get this ball in that net. Doesn't matter where in the net, just as long as it goes between the posts.
Yeah.
That's a goal.
Yeah.
Solid. Like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So you mentioned just before I went off there that you kind of just want to continue to be on this upward curve.
Yeah.
So in your future, is there anything you're scared of affecting that upward curve?
I am 110% my own worst enemy.
Oh.
110%. Everything that I have ever tried to accomplish, I can pretty much put my finger on the deciding factor that stopped me from doing so. And it was always me. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change the way things have gone, because even the smallest things have helped shape me into who I am now. So a decision that I made 15 years ago, if I could go back and change it, would I? No. Because then I wouldn't have become who I am now. And I like who I am now, which is something that I've only been able to say in the last 2 or 3 years. Could I have gotten to where I am quicker? Maybe. Could I have taken longer to get where I am? Maybe. I am content with having gotten here now. I'm here. This is good. All right. As long as I continue to improve, as long as I keep that momentum and motivation, I think I'll be okay. And if something does go wrong, I need to accept it, address whatever it is, work out what the next step is to getting to that goal, instead of fixating on the fact it went wrong, because I do that a lot. Not as prominently as I did, but I definitely do still do that. Classic example would be the promotion that I most recently applied for and didn't get. My response when I found out was, well, it was lots of swearing. And actually, could I have done something better? Is there something I can improve on? And if so, how do I do that? And that's the train of thought that I've moved to, from it's someone else's fault, to actually, how can I do better so that next time I don't fail? But I definitely spent more than a minute going, it's everyone else's fault, they're all dumb. The fuck is that about? Obviously I'm the best for it. I did a lot of that.
Ego pandering.
For like a solid week and a half.
Fair.
And I've now gotten out of that and gone, actually, you know what? I don't agree with it, but it's the decision that's been made. How can I make sure that next time the decision that is made is yes instead of no?
I like that way of looking at it.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
I'm definitely my own worst enemy. I just have to make sure I don't let myself do that.
So earlier when you were speaking about that, you said that your things that in life you may have done wrong or have gone wrong rather, you wouldn't change them because you wouldn't be who you are.
Yeah.
So does that mean you have no regrets about anything, or is there anything you go back and you're like, you know what, I did actually fuck that up, or I did get that particular thing wrong?
I don't think about this very specific thing anymore. I mean, obviously I've thought about it now because you've mentioned regrets. I don't think about this anymore, but there is one thing that has kind of played on my mind a little bit over, I don't know, the last, 3, 4, I would have been 10. Oh my god. Wow, I was a child. So there was this girl when I was in primary school, right? I would have been younger than 10. Christ. So the first girl that I ever had a crush on was this girl who was the sister of one of my classmates, and she was older than us. So I was in year 3 and she was in year 6. And I about died inside whenever she, because I was friends with her sister, the girl in my class I was friends with. And whenever the older sister would come to speak to her and I was there, full system shut down. I would just die inside and not know how to do anything. Breathing was a difficult task. And then when we moved up into year 4, she left the school. And I remained friends with her sister, and I think I did so purely on the chance that I might run into her again later down the line.
Yeah.
And I did bump into the younger sister, the one that I was in the same year as, in secondary school at some point, just out in the street, and I stopped to say hi. And then her sister came over. Like, they were obviously out together, and like she'd gone into a shop or something, I don't know. And she said hi to me. And I just full on just shut down. Like, brain just went, nope, need to restart. Sorry, dude, your Windows updating is happening now.
Okay.
Which is obviously very unfortunate. And I did see her around like a little bit. Like, so like I'd got into, I don't know, late teens, early 20s, and I'd like see the older sister that I'd had a crush on, like walking around town or something, and I'd be like, oh, I should go say hi to her. Like, definitely should go say hi to her. And I would talk myself out of it. Like, the thought would occur, and almost in the same split second, it would be like, no, don't do that. Don't, no, absolutely not. I regret not doing so. I wouldn't change that. Because again, I'm very happy with who I am now, and where I'm at in life. I'm happy with that. I don't know, she could have been a total bitch. But she was hot. Like, nah. I don't think that's worthwhile as a trade-off. She could be really nice, but she could also not be. No, I wouldn't change it, but I do regret not talking to her. Sometimes I'll think about it, and I'll be like, yeah, I should have spoken to her, but meh.
You seem to, as we've been talking, I've kind of realised that you kind of always go with your gut.
I have done an incredible number of very stupid things in my time. Considering I'm only 34, I have done and I did a considerable number of these things before I turned like 16.
Congrats.
So, and I've maintained not an equal level, but I've definitely done dumb shit since. A lot of that I have done against my better judgment.
Okay.
I think I have a very good gut instinct for what I should do in a situation. As a kid, I was easily swayed from that because I struggled to build meaningful relationships with people. I struggled to build meaningful friendships with people. I was kind of the kid that tagged along.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would do the dumb shit that I thought was dumb shit because they were doing it too. And it's, well, if they jump off a bridge, would you? Well, yeah, because I want to fit in.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Yeah. So I did a lot of dumb shit that I didn't think I should do. I did anyway. For reasons that really don't actually make sense. Because if I have to do dumb shit that I don't want to do to fit in with these people, these are not the people I should be fitting in with. It's not something I knew then, but it's something I know now.
Hindsight is something.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've got a relatively good. I've got a good gut instinct on what to do with situations.
So, what do you think plays into that? It plays into your gut. So, like, what do you say your core values are that kind of instinctually tell your gut what to do?
I have a very strong moral compass on some things. Actually, no, that's a lie. I have a very strong moral compass, right? Just some things are aligned righteous good, and some things are aligned righteous evil.
Also coined, yeah?
No, not coined. Definitely not. There's definitely like diagrams out there for like righteous good, neutral good. I can't remember what the other one is, but that's what I was going to go with for the evil. Like opposite sides of that spectrum. I don't know, like 1400s knights defending the castle and the keep and the citizenry, go and fight a dragon to rescue a princess. I have a very strong like chivalry like code built in. I don't know where that's come from. I don't know if that's the way I was raised or the things I was raised on, like stories, games, things like that. Like I said, I played a lot of like Final Fantasy, which is basically save the world, get the girl stuff. So I don't know where that's come from, but I know it's there. Like I've never raised my hand to a woman. Like I've never raised my hand and hit a woman. I have raised my hand and then I have gone, that's the wrong thing to do. And I've hurt myself to kind of realign, like, no, I need to think, not just do.
Not just act.
Yeah. I used to have like a solid temper issue. And that's I would resort to, that will hurt me a lot if I do that, but I'm going to do that instead because that's the better of the two things to do. Oh, that was a brick. My hand.
Would you say they've evolved? Or would you say some things have changed? Or
I'd say I'm smarter about it. So I've always been greedy. As a kid, I was a kleptomaniac. I saw it, I wanted it, it was mine. Sometimes I would ask first, I'd get told no, and I'd take it anyway. I learned very quickly that got me caught, because I'd asked for it, so I was top of the suspect list, so I stopped asking and just taking. I obviously don't do that anymore, but I'm very, like, if I want something, I will get it. So I want an upgrade for my computer. No, fuck it, I'll buy one. Like, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to go, oh, I don't need that. If I want something, I want it, so I'm going to have it. I will get that now. So I'm still greedy. I'm just smarter about it. I don't know if there's really much to evolve on the, like, the other side of it, the chivalry thing. I don't think there's really a lot to evolve for that. I'm pretty solid on men shouldn't hit women. I also think women shouldn't hit men. But I'm very solid on men shouldn't hit women. Like, no one should hit anyone, really.
Yes.
That's where I am.
That's what I back.
If you have to do it, it should be self-defense. With the and that means they've hit you. With the exception of, you know, that's a knife. I can't really let you stab me before I knock you out. But if I have to knock someone out, It has to be one punch. Has to be one punch. Because it can't be premeditated. And it can't be aggravated. So, one punch, they are unconscious, perfect, put them in a recovery position, step away, call the police. I have just had to defend myself. You know, I am in the right here. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be calling you to tell you I've done the thing. He had a knife. It's on the pavement next to him, you know, a little ways away, because I don't want him to regain consciousness and grab it, but it's there. I haven't touched it with my hands. I haven't got my fingerprints on it. It's definitely his. But yeah, I don't think anyone should hit anyone. There's a lot that can be said for having an actual conversation. Like, realistically, most, like, not wars, but sort of, like, people say war and they're like, oh, World War II. Like, any conflict that involves weapons and casualties can be avoided by having a conversation and coming to an agreement. Which, in most cases, they're gonna have to do anyway.
Well, maybe after.
There'll be casualties.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna have to sit down and talk anyway. Just do that bit first. Don't get Tom, Dick and Harry involved. Because Tom, Dick and Harry have got families and they'll be missed. You know, go sit down and talk about it and work out what the problem is and how it can be resolved. Don't be dickheads about it. It's a very basic view, I think, but it's a very accurate one.
Yeah.
So,
I think not going down the path of war and kind of the
big ones.
Yeah, not going down that kind of route, but more of like influential people, and people that other people look up to. Would you say there's anyone in your life that you've had, or like someone that has been really influential or has had a big impact on your life, excluding your son?
Excluding
your son?
My son.
Yeah, because obviously he's going to have a massive impact on your life.
So I was asked this question, or a similar question.
Yeah.
At a work thing. It was like a get to know everyone.
Icebreaker.
Questions on bits of paper in a hat. Pick it out. Everyone answers the question. Go around the table. Next. And this came up, and I was like, I really don't like telling people my answer to this because it sounds really bad.
Okay. But
we'll do that. No, because I think it sounds bad. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
And I don't mean it's bad. Like, I'm not going to say Stalin or Hitler
literally
or anything.
First person that came to my mind.
I'm not going to go with like a bad guy. Do you know what I mean? Thanks for that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go with like your traditional baddie, but it makes people think about me a certain way, because my answer is me.
Okay.
Like, I am the reason, like the way that I have been and the way my attitude has changed, like always wanting to improve, like doing things better today than I did yesterday is like fundamental to me now. It's something that I've been working on for so long that it's just natural. It's like breathing. I don't make it happen. I just do. And I have setbacks. Everyone has bad days. Everyone's entitled to bad days. You know, you want to sit down in total darkness in your front room, wrapped up in a duvet, and watch crap on Netflix because you're just not feeling it today. But you get back up tomorrow and you carry on improving. That's the important bit. And that's what I have done.
Really interesting. Matthew McConaughey, who's an incredible actor.
Yes.
He said something similar in one of the... I'm not sure. In a YouTube video I watched of him.
Okay.
There we
are.
So, because I know it was on there. I'm not sure if it was like a commencement speech or like a graduation speech or like when he won an Oscar speech kind of thing. But he said a similar thing. He said the person who was influenced or impacted him most is him, but him in like 10 years. And he's always looking to that person.
Yeah.
And I think that's... When you said that's what I thought of. And I wasn't like, oh, he's being really obnoxious and snobby. I was like, oh no, he's just continuously doing... He's working on him as opposed to...
So there was something from a show I watched. And it was said really mean. Right? The connotation behind it was like, you are trash. Okay? But take the connotation away... Yeah. And the statement itself is something that I've taken and have decided is something that I want to aspire to. Do the best of someone better.
I like that.
I really like that. Now, it was said, someone was like, I'm doing my best. And they were like, well, do the best of someone better than you.
Yeah.
Like, it was cutty. Like... It was mean. It was meant to be mean. But I've taken that connotation away and I've gone, I can be better tomorrow than I am today. And I can be better today than I was yesterday. And that upward trend... I have flat days.
Yeah.
Where I don't make an improvement. And sometimes I have down days where I go, you know what, today I'm just not going to... Today was going to be one of those days, actually. I was going to just not do anything. And I changed my mind. I planned it in advance. I was like, I'm going back to work in a couple days. I'm going to take a day to just sit and play on a PlayStation. Like, and not like a PlayStation 5, but like a PlayStation 2. Like, I'm going back... Old school. I'm going back to being fucking 14, cross-legged on the front room floor.
Yeah.
Far too close to the TV, with the volume up way too loud. Like, and I'm going to do that for the day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to open the curtains. I'm going to get Just Eat to deliver me Monster and
bad stuff.
And flapjack.
Yeah.
That's going to be my day, and it's going to be great. But I'm glad that I came and did this, and I've done some other bits today as well. So I'm glad that that's the way it turned out. But I had planned on having just like a down day, and then getting back into the swing of things tomorrow, and then going back to work on Thursday. To continue with that. But it's making sure that after a down or a flat, I'm still looking to improve. It's not, and I could have a flat 3 days or a down week.
Yeah.
As long as at the end of it, I go, okay, right, now how do I catch up? I don't have to catch up very quickly to where I would have been. As long as I'm working towards it and beyond, that's okay.
Are you happy?
I am now, yeah, I think I am. Yeah. I have a roof over my head, I have food in my belly, I have a partner who says she loves me and I believe her. And I love her. And I'm pretty sure she believes me when I say it. I've got a kid who is so much like me as a child. It's scary. And is starting to behave the way I behaved. But I feel like because I did the things he's doing, I probably have a better idea. Because my parents didn't do the things I did. Like, they wouldn't have gotten away with the shit I did. Like, if my mum stole as a child, pretty sure my grandparents would have been like, right, we'll take that hand off then. Yeah, like that. No, it wouldn't have flown. Not at all. So, but because I did the things that he's now starting to do, I feel like I have a handle on that. And it's a challenge, but it's not impossible. So, yes, I would say yes.